Dear student, welcome to this lecture on export management. In this lecture, I am going to cover few topics. First, I am going to discuss the role of ECGC. Second, export finance, export benefits, and next one is the Incoterms. And this is the last lecture on export management. And in the next two lecture, I will cover the merchandising. So let us see what is the role of ECGC. Now ECGC, let us see what is the meaning of the term ECGC. ECGC is basically a short form of an organization. It stands for Export Credit Guarantee Corporation. It is wholly owned by Government of India and it is controlled by Ministry of Commerce. Now ECGC plays a very important role to provide the support to the exporters. So right now I will discuss what is the role played by ECGC. Thereafter I will discuss export finance. Exporters are eligible to get finance from the commercial bank based on certain terms and conditions. So under export finance, we will discuss what are the mode of operation for getting the finance from the commercial bank and what are the terms and conditions. Next is the export benefit. Exporters are getting a lot of benefits from the government and the governments are giving these benefits to the exporters in order to boost up the export. And lastly, I will discuss the Incoterms. This is a Incoterm stands for international commercial terms, and a price in the export market is quoted based on this Incoterm. So when I will discuss the Incoterms, it will be clear to you. So I will start with role of ECGC. So ECGC, as I have already told you, it stands for Export Credit Guarantee Corporation. It is established to protect the exporters from the payment risk arising both due to political and commercial reasons. If you can recall that when I have discussed the risk involved in export, I have told that exporters are exposed to the risk of non-payment that may arise because of the political as well as the commercial reason. What is the political reason? There might be all of a sudden there may be dispute may occur between the two countries, just like what is happening between India and China right now, or India and Pakistan. And as well as the commercial reason, what is the meaning of the term commercial reason? It's quite possible that the exporters respect the goods to the importers, and by that time importers are declared bankrupt. So in both the cases, export credit guarantee and corporations, they will take the responsibility for protecting the exporters from the payment. For this purpose, exporters have to pay certain amount of premium to this organization. So this is the most important function, that is the exporters are covered the risk of non-payment by this organization. Secondly, it helps the exporters in obtaining the financial assistance from the commercial bank and other financial institutions on the strength of its policies and the guarantees. We'll understand that the commercial banks, they are providing finance to the exporters. Okay, and these commercial banks are interested to finance the exporter organization because of the fact that the exporters are under coverage of ECGC, because they are sure and certain that if they provide finance or give advance to the exporters, they will get payment, because ECGC company, ECGC organization, they will cover the political and the commercial risk, which may cause non-payment of the exporter. Next is it helps in collecting and disseminating information regarding the credit worthiness of the overseas buyers. See, repeatedly I have told you that the buyers and exporters, they are separated by a very wide distance, And under this situation, it is not possible for the exporters to know the credit worthiness of the buyers. So in this situation, ECGC collects the information regarding the overseas buyers and transmit this information to the exporters. Next, it helps the exporter to expand their overseas business without fear of loss. Next is provides the bank financial guarantee to safeguard their interests. That means, right now I have told you that the commercial bank provides the finance to the exporters, and this ECGC it provides financial guarantee to the commercial bank and safeguard their interest. It charges lower rates of premium to enable the exporters to effectively compete in the international market. See, as I have already told you, ECGC is basically 100% owned by Government of India. It is bought under Ministry of Commerce. Therefore, it is a non-profit organization basically, and its objective is to help the exporters. That's why the premium rates are very low and enables the exporter to effectively compete in the international market. So these are basically the role of ECGC. Next, I will discuss the finance for the exporters. Now, it is quite possible for the exporters that exporters have necessary infrastructure for production, but it is quite possible that they don't have the working capital. So under this situation, the commercial bank provides the loans to the exporter. So these things come under the finance for the exporter. That means here we will discuss how and from where exporters can get loan from the bank. Okay, so let us see. In India, financial institution, a commercial bank means all the banks, you can say State Bank of India, Oriental Bank of Commerce, or you consider Indian banks. All these commercial banks, SIDBI stands for Small Industrial Development Bank of India, and Exim Bank means Export Import Bank. They are directly concerned with the export finance. That means commercial bank, SIDBI, and Exim Bank, they are provided, they are directly concerned with the export financing. That means they provide finance to the exporters. The Reserve Bank of India is also involved in this case, but indirectly as a fund frames the rules and regulations regarding the terms and conditions of export finance. And the ECGC that I have already told you, it is also indirectly in place because ECGC is protects the exporter against the risk of non-payment by the importers. So try to understand here. These are the three banks: commercial banks, SIDBI, and the Exim Bank. They are directly concerned with the export financing. Next, Reserve Bank of India. They are also playing an indirect role because they frame the rules and regulations regarding the finance. And next is the ECGC, that is basically they are also involved indirectly as it protects the exporters against the risk of non-payment. Next, exporter means finance both at the pre-shipment and the post-shipment stage. The finance required to meet the various expenses before shipment of goods is called pre-shipment finance or packing credit, and the finance which is provided by the banks after the shipment of the goods come under post-shipment finance. See, what I mean to say here that the exporters can get finance from the bank before shipment as well as after shipment. What are the finance the exporter will get from the banks before shipment are known as the pre-shipment finance, or it is known as the packing credit. And the finance which is provided by the bank after the shipment of the goods are known as the post-shipment finance. Now, remember, just pre-shipment means before shipment. That means pre-shipment finance exporter will get before shipment, and the post-shipment finance means exporter will get the finance after the shipment. So let us see what are the terms and conditions from the pre-shipment as well as the post-shipment finance. So in the next 2-3 slides, I will show you what are the pre-shipment finance, their purpose, their terms and conditions for the pre-shipment as well as post-shipment finance. So this is the pre-shipment finance. As I already told you, pre-shipment finance of the packing credit. This is granted to the exporters before the shipment, and this finance is provided to the exporters to purchase the raw material, carry out production, packaging, and shipping the goods. Now, this is the mode of terms and conditions, and now you can say the modus operandi for getting the pre-shipment finance. Now, what is the eligibility? The packing credit is granted to the exporter who have export order or a letter of credit in their name. That means only those exporters are eligible for packing credit or pre-shipment finance who have got confirmed export orders in their hand, or those who have letter of credit open in their hand. What is the purpose? To provide the working capital to the exporters. What is the meaning of the working capital? Working capital means the raw materials, or you can say the other necessary production costs like electricity bill or the labor cost, all these things are coming under the working capitals. And with this working capital, the exporters can carry out the production. Because to have the necessary infrastructure will not solve the purpose. The exporter should have sufficient money for purchasing the raw material and carry out the production process. Next, the documentary evidence. Now, there are certain documents are needed to get finance or to get loan from the bank. And what is the documentary evidence in this case? It is the issue code level, letter of credit, and the confirmed export order. Okay. Next is the bank release this packing credit at a concessional rate of interest. The present rate of interest is 10% per annum for the pre-shipment advance after initial period of 180 days. For a further period of 90 days, the concessional rate is 13%, and for rest 270 days or up to 360 days, bank are free to charge the interest. See, I have given star marks here. See, I have given star marks in 10%, 13%. Why? Because this interest rate is not fixed. This may vary from time to time. Okay, as on date, this is the 10%, but it is quite possible that the policy may change, and accordingly the interest rate may also change. It is something like that. You can also know the interest rate of bank is varied. Okay, it is not fixed. Time to time it may vary. Similarly, the interest rate for the pre-shipment finance also it is varied. But at present it is 10% for initial period of 180 days. Next for the 90 days it is 13%, and from 270 days and 360 days it will be as per the wish of the banks. Next is the post-shipment finance. As the name implies, here the finance is given to the exporters after shipment of the goods. This finance is needed to bridge the gap after meeting the shipment and before realization of the payment from the process buyer. Now, very important question that may arise, that may you can ask, that is, what is the need of post-shipment finance? Post-shipment finance means the loan is given after shipment is over. That means after production is over, after dispatch is done. Then what is the need of the finance? The need of the finance is that in some cases, exporters may not get the payment immediately. It may take certain times. Say it may be 90 days or it may 180 days. So in this situation, the exporters are entitled to get post-shipment finance. And purpose of this post-shipment finance is to bridge the gap between the date of shipment and before realization of the payment from the process buyers. And this time may vary. It may be 180 days or 270 days, whatever, but it is not more than the insurance period. Next, this is the terms and conditions regarding the post-shipment finance. the eligibility. This facility is provided to the exporters who have actually shipped the goods. That means the post-shipment finance is given to the exporters who have already shipped the goods. Purpose: post-shipment finance provide the money to the exporters from the date of shipment to the date of realization of export proceeds. That means, as I have already told you, just after shipment, exporters may not get the payment. It may take certain time, say 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, whatever. And for that period, exporters may get finance from the commercial banks. Now, documentary evidence, we have also certain documentary evidence and get the loan. The first one, it is the exporter has to provide the evidence that they have already shipped the goods and they have complied all the requirements. Next is the post-shipment finance is given to the exporter normally up to 90% of the invoice value. So what is the export value? Based on that, the post-shipment finance is provided. Okay, that means the export post-shipment finance should be 90% of the invoice value. Okay, and it is generally 180 days from the date of shipment. Now, export benefits and assistance. See, remember, I have already discussed the importance of export, and in that chapter I have discussed that because of the export, both our national economy are benefited as well as the individual exporters also. But as far as the risk is concerned, exporter has to take the risk. Now, under this situation, to boost up the export, Indian government formulated certain strategy, a certain scheme to help the exporters. Now, here I will going to discuss how the exporters are assisted by the Indian government, or you can say what are the benefits or assistance exporter used to get to boost up the export. The first one is the export promotion scheme. The foreign trade policy 2015 to 20 and other schemes provide promotional measures to boost India's export. And some of the measures that I have discussed here. The merchandise export from India scheme. Merchandise means where the goods are exported from the Indian scheme. Under this scheme, export of selected products to the selected markets are granted freely transferable duty credits scheme, which can be used for payment of the basic customs duty for imports of the goods. That means, if an exporter import the goods which are used for the export purpose, in that case they will be giving credit script. Credit script means it is one form of coupon. Based on this coupon, they can pay the basic customs duty which they are supposed to pay for import goods. That means one way you can say here the exporters are given assistance for paying the import duty of the product, provided the goods which is imported from the other countries are used for the manufacturing the products which is to be exported. Next is the service export from the Indian scheme, ACIS. Service providers of the selected service are also eligible from the certain benefits depending on the net foreign exchange earned by them. See, what I mean to say here, not only the merchandise export, rather the service exports are also eligible for the benefits depending upon what is the amount of foreign exchange they are earning by providing service to the other. Next is the duty-free import authorization scheme. DFI issued to allow the duty-free import of inputs with a minimum value addition requirement 20%. That means, if an organization import the product and add minimum 20% of value, in this case, he is allowed to carry out this import without paying any duty. That means the exporter need not to pay any duty for the import of input, provided the value addition is 20%. It is not like that I will import something from one country and as it is I will export this. At least before exporting, you have to add 20% of. Next, duty drawback of customs, central excise duties. This I have already discussed because the goods which are meant for the exports are free from excise duty or customs. Either they need not to pay any central excise duty, or even they pay, they can claim for refund of this central excise. Next is the EPCG scheme. What is the meaning of the word EPCG? EPCG actually I have not mentioned here. EPCG means export promotion for capital goods. CG means capital goods. Yes, CG means capital goods. I might have mentioned somewhere. Under this import, yes, capital goods. Under this import of capital goods at zero custom duty is allowed for producing quality goods and services to India's export competitiveness. This is subject to certain terms and conditions. Now, based on certain terms and conditions, importers are also eligible for duty-free import of the capital goods. In this case, I have considered duty-free import of the raw material. But here, duty-free import of capital goods means machineries. Here, or you can say the spinning industries, you can consider that here the duty-free import is the raw material. So you can say the import of product. And here, duty-free import of capital goods means you can say the spinning machineries. That means, and depending upon certain terms and conditions, exporters are allowed to import capital goods without paying any duty. Next, the same export benefit and assistance status holder scheme. See, as for the export performance, status recognition as per 1 star, 2 star, 3 star, 4 star, 5 star is according to the eligible applicant. This is depending upon the value of export in a non-financial year. The exporters are given rating 1 star, 2 star, 3 star, and 4 star. And different exporters having different rating, they are giving non-fiscal privileges. Details what are the advantages of 1 star, 2 star, 3 star, it is not at all needed. Just remember, if the exporters export certain amount of they bring certain amount of foreign exchange, okay, they will be given the 1 star, 2 star, 3 star, or 5 star rating, and based on their rating, they will enjoy certain privileges. These privileges are non-fiscal. What is the meaning of the word non-fiscal privileges? Because no finance term is needed, no monetary benefit is there, but they will get advantages in some other ways. As for example, here you can say they will get the single window customs, 24/7 clearance, prior filling of the capacity of the shipping means, all these things are coming under this. Also, if there is the while the transportation of the goods, they will be allocated the wagons on priority basis. So they will be getting a lot of advantages, and these advantages are non-fiscal advantages. Non-fiscal advantages means no financial benefit, but the benefit is given in some other manner. Okay. Now let us see Incoterms. Incoterms means, what are the Incoterms? Incoterms stands for International Commercial Terms. And Incoterm is a universal term that denotes the transaction between importer and exporter, so that both the parties understand the task, cost, risk, and the responsibilities of transportation management from the exit of the product to the reception by the importing countries. Now try to understand what is the meaning of the term Incoterms. As I have already told, it stands for International Commercial Terms. Now suppose there is a price, there is an agreement between the importer and exporter. The next question will come, who will bear the transportation cost? Who will bear the freight charge? Who will bear the insurance? Who will bear the loading and unloading cost? Okay, so these terms are clearly mentioned in the input terms. There are several input terms, but we need to know 4 to 5 input terms. That means input terms, it will clearly specify the responsibilities of the exporters and the responsibilities of the importers. It will also clearly specify who will bear the freight charge, who will bear the transportation cost, who will bear the loading and unloading cost, and who will bear the, we will provide the insurance premium. So this is the X word. In short form, it is known as EXW. The seller makes the goods available at his location so that the buyer can take over all the transportation cost and also bears the risk of bringing the goods to their final destination. Here, transport, freight, insurance, etc. are borne by the importer. Try to understand what I mentioned here. Now, what the seller will do? Seller will manufacture the goods and they will simply keep their goods outside the factory. Yes. And seller will not bear any other cost. All the cost will be borne by the importers. That means to bring the goods up to the dock, loading charges, freight charge, insurance, each and everything should be borne by the importers. And this is the importers' responsibility. Next is the FOB. After X works and FOB, these are the two very important terms. The seller has exporter quote a price which includes all the expenses incurred till the goods are actually loaded or on the board of the ship. This means the packing charges, local transport charges, and dock dues are covered under this price. Okay. That means here what the exporter will do, exporter will manufacture the goods, they will pack the goods, they will bring the goods to their dock of the port, they will carry out the loading, and thereafter from that point all the costs will be borne by the importers. That means in the case of, try to understand what is the difference between export X works and FOB. In the case of the X works, exporter, what the exporters will do, they will pack the goods and goods will be brought outside the factory gate, and from there all other charges will be borne by the importers. But in the case of the FOB, exporters will pack the goods, take the goods from the nearest dock or as, and thereafter load the goods. After that, all the incidental expenses will be borne by the importers. That means FOB price will consist of cost of production plus profit margin, expenses up to the board on the ship. But the freight of the ship will not be borne by the exporter. Unloading charges will be not borne by the exporter. Premium will be not given by the exporters. All these things are the responsibilities of importers. Next is the cost and freight. The price quoted include the total cost of goods, packing carriage, loading charges, and the payment paid up to the port of destination. The other expenses like cartage, unloading charges, expenses of the carrying the goods from the port of delivery to the warehouse are to be borne by the importers. See, here exporters will bear all the expenses, but exporter will not pay the premium, and premium will be paid by the importers. Cartage cost, that will be also paid by the importers. Unloading charges, that will be also paid by the importers. And from the importers quote, to their warehouse, that will be also paid by the importer. That means CNF price is equal to FOB plus freight charge. That means it is equal to the FOB price that I have discussed earlier plus freight charge. Next is the cost, insurance and freight. Now this is the same as that of the cost and freight. Only thing is that, but in this case, as I have already told you, insurance is not paid by the exporter. Insurance are paid by the importer. But here, insurance charges are paid by the exporter. That means CIF price is equal to FOB price plus freight plus insurance. Okay, so that is all about the Incoterms. That means whether the terms will be freight charge will be borne by the exporter or importer, or whether the insurance will be paid by the exporter or importer. All these things will be decided as per the Incoterm. That means exporter will put their price and mention that this is whether the FOB price or CIF price or CNF price. That means say price is $15,000. Okay, and it is CIF. That means here entire charge will be borne by the exporter. Similarly, if it is 15,000 X works, then entire charge other than entire charge will be borne by the importer. So which charge will be borne by whom will be decided by the importer. So this is all about your export management. We have covered details procedure of the export. We have covered what are the benefits of the export, what are the different terms and conditions of the export, what are the documentation requirements, customs clearance, and risk involved, how to mitigate the risk, and thereafter I have discussed what are the role of certain financial institute, what are the terms and conditions for getting the export finance, and what are the exporters benefit. That means what are the benefits are given to the exporters are also discussed. And lastly, I have discussed the Incoterms. These Incoterms, as I already told you, will decide who will pay the freight charge, insurance cost, loading and unloading charge. So this is all about your export management. And in the next lesson onwards, I will upload other two lectures regarding this merchandise.